Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. You're welcome to this special broadcast. We're gonna be talking about the crisis, and now it's a full blown war has been neglected. The Ambazonian Cameroon conflict that has turned into a full blown war. But why the neglect? Why most countries have been have sidelined the crisis for other crises? Okay, and we're gonna be talking about that because it's very vital for us to understand why this crisis have been neglected. And even though we had two separate talks, but it has not worked. Okay, why? Because we are dealing with a very corrupt and dictatorial regime. We are dealing with a very corrupt French system that France has corrupted as France has done in all the other countries. So it's very difficult for countries to even discuss about this. One, remember, France has a veto power in the United Nations Security Council. France has a veto in the EU. France has a huge influence over the African Union and even part of ECOWAS and CEMAC for that matter. So that influence has caused a lot of hindrance. When we already started the Swiss-led negotiation and La République immediately back out. There has been the Canada pre-talk that was started. La République still back out. So when you see the longevity of this crisis, you can tell why this longevity and why that neglect. Okay, we can remember that Switzerland was ready to mediate in this crisis and get into the root causes of the problem, but La République back out. Canada was ready to mediate. The Canadian foreign minister said that she was ready to get involved and mediate and help in the process of negotiation. But what happened? The Cameroon government back out. So these are examples of that breach of contract or disrespect of international laws that we have seen, and this has not only been the instance. We have also seen the instance of Cameroon not respecting international order, international discussions, like the one that the Nigerian High Court has passed almost 2 years ago, trying to tell the Cameroon government, release these people, release the Naira 10 and the other Taraba 49 that were illegally arrested in Nigeria, send them back to Nigeria and compensate them financially. But has La République done that? No. That is where you see the bad faith. Okay, when we talk with international partners, we talk to countries, we talk to all these other people, they mention the disrespect or how the Cameroon government cannot keep to its promise. And what do you do with that kind of country? Sanctions can follow, all these things can follow, but can La République even respect the sanctions? And Biya has created an influence within the CEMAC. Cameroon is the headquarters of CEMAC. Also, Nigeria, our neighbor, is the headquarters of ECOWAS. So they bond together, when with the former Nigerian president, Olusegun, this they born, but I don't know if Tinubu will follow with that system. But we have seen the Nigerian parliament trying to talk about the release of the Naira 10 and bring them back to Nigeria too. So these are discussions that are ongoing. But for the past years, the killing, the genocide, the massacre, the scorched egg policy on the people of Ambazonia has gone unperturbed. And the Cameroon military continue their mayhem on the people of Ambazonia. We knew that when the Geneva Convention was brought up, it was on war, the Geneva Convention on war and human rights. But what consequences do we have to countries or dictators that keep disrespect that Geneva Convention? This is genocide. And the Geneva Convention was aimed at stopping genocide, stopping the killing of innocent civilians during war, stopping the killing of women and children, okay, stopping the killing of aid workers and humanitarian workers. This is not what is happening in Ambazonia today. We see the killing of even humanitarian workers by the government officers to put it on the restoration fighters. Okay, we see the killing of innocent women and children. We have heard testimonies of these DDR Center guys who went to DDR Center, that they were the one carrying most of these operations. We have heard the testimony of these guys who are brought in by Tangi and Galajirad and all these other guys who have their militia. These are elites. They will go and be giving weapons to guys, and they say these are restoration fighters, whereas it's their personal militia. They sponsor them personally. They finance these guys to do all these crimes, to put it on the people of Ambazonia. You see, but along the years we have discovered all this, and that's why we are, So today I want to talk about all these untold stories about Ambazonia, this war that no one is talking about. Now, some people would want to take us to some root causes and all those, okay, and trying to, you see, but right at the United Nations, we have Cameroonians, we have Southern Cameroonians who are sounding the alarm. Okay, take a listen at this lady. She is in the United Nations saying, please, we need the discussion of this conflict to be tabled in the United Nations. They only talk about other conflict. Listen to her.
Villages and so on. I've never heard about Cameroon. I don't think United Nations is discriminating. I've never heard about Cameroon. All I hear is Russia, Ukraine, and so on and so forth. What about Cameroon? What about all African countries who are at war? Is United Nations absent? Please, we need you to come in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think two points. One, to speak specifically about Cameroon, it is an issue that often comes up in our briefing room in our speeches. And I would say the Secretary General has been very clear about expressing his concern about the human rights violations that we're seeing in the violence that we're seeing in the northwest and in the southwest of the country. We have a very good team in Cameroon who is doing what it can to support the people of Cameroon. But I think your broad, if I can use your intervention to make a broader point, is that and I think Ambassador Thomas Greenfield referred to that. There are way too many underreported crises.
Villages and so on. I've never heard about Cameroon. I don't think United Nations is discriminating. I've never heard about Cameroon. All I hear is Russia, Ukraine, and so on and so forth. What about Cameroon? What about all African countries who are at war? Is United Nations absent? Please, we need you to come in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think two points. One, to speak specifically about Cameroon, it is an issue that often comes up.
Yes. So you see that is an Ambazonian in the United Nations meeting saying that why the neglect, because not only that the United Nations lack of commitment, but it's the fact that they don't, the only thing they do is to condemn the atrocities by the Cameroon government, militia, these military who go about and do all these atrocities. But this is an international media reporting the atrocities of this La Republic government military who are killing and they still do it as we speak. It continues as we speak. Take a listen at this.
Another country with a similarly dictatorial president is Cameroon. President Paul Biya has been in power since he was appointed prime minister in 1975, leading to the longest-running non-monarchy leadership in the world. In 1982, he replaced the country's president. And since 1997, Western countries have alleged voter fraud in every Cameroonian election, all of which Biya has won by a significant margin. In 2008, he was prevented from running again by constitutional term limits. Not unlike Museveni, Biya used his influence in parliament, and the term limits were lifted by 157 to just 5 votes. 15 members of parliament protested the vote, saying it was a constitutional coup d'etat. The change also granted the president immunity for any illegal actions committed while in power. Reports of torture by police and extreme censorship by jailing journalists have been representative of Biya's authoritative rule.
He's one of the longest-serving African leaders, with almost 3 decades in power.
Estimates about how many people who exterminated or assassinated political opposition.
Army was moving from village to village. If they were not burning houses, then they're shooting people down. If they are not shooting people down, they are destroying crops. So people had nothing and nowhere to go.
Sweep in, killing all the men, raping women. We have many reports of babies being killed. The brutal barbarism is almost beyond description.
Cameroonian troops have been sent into Anglophone regions and are alleged to have killed many civilians.
There are things we all can and must do to stop it. Never again, we once promised. Yet it is happening again as the world stands by.
Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch have documented these atrocities.
Victims of what has been called the first genocide of the 21st century. They wait under a straw shelter or a sparse tree to see if there's room at the camp. The wait can be 3 weeks.
The population of Ediki landed in Banga since Friday night.
We go bush, we won't come back.
We had just returned from the farm and about to cook when someone announced to us to run for our dear lives. As we went into our house to pack our things to escape, we started getting gunshots. Fortunately for us, when we thought we could hide in the bush, the train was coming. That was how we arrived in Banga.
The most conservative estimate reads 200,000 dead. 2.5 million forced from their homes. Too many rapes to be counted. And the world's response? One writer has said, if the United Nations could die of shame, it would have been dead years ago.
Now have been government soldiers coming forward and revealing that in many instances, government soldiers would actually perpetrate these atrocities.
He would report that aerial photographs now showed villages burning across the region.
That they've been abandoned. Where is the international community? Can it be that they don't know? And if they do know, why aren't they here?
The government soldiers would dig holes into the ground, and people would be forced inside those holes. And then the top would be covered with wood, with grass, and then with earth. And and then that would be set on fire. So in other words, people are actually roasted alive.
All this genocide by force of habit.
How can modern nations, how can civilized nations allow that to go on and plead ignorance and plead to the international community that they knew nothing about it? How can the international community itself say that they didn't know about that?
We will never be able to bring back the dead to life. We will never be able to restore.
But this is just a sneak peek of the killings, the massacre that the BR regime has committed on the people of Ambazonia. But this is still happening. For the past 7 years, our people have faced genocide. Our people have faced massacre. But the United Nations still remains silent.
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't do that.
The United Nations still remains silent. Why is it silent? France has been blocking every single mention of the tabling of this crisis on the negotiation table, on the table of the United Nations, or on the table of the Security Council, because France has a veto power. But this has been happening, and if you hear the figures of the dead, of the people that have passed on from the Ambazonian people, is more than 200,000 people. But the displacement, hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced to Nigeria. Then the internally displaced, then the prisoners of conscience. Okay. Think of it. Yeah. The Ambazonian crisis has been ongoing for so long. But after 7 years, do you see the government of Cameroon going for negotiation with the Ambazonian leaders? That is the question we are asking. Do they prefer to keep on their military killing our people, or they want to go to negotiation to end the crisis? Going to negotiation means that going to the root causes of the conflict, okay? Because the root causes is the failed federal system that happened during the integration between the two systems. But since 1961, when the United Nations voted for our independence, they did not vote for our independence that we should join and lost our identity. They voted for us to join and said, okay, this is your independence. See how you can live together and build a federal system that will work for the two of you. But the dictator, Aijo, decided to replace to a unitary system that today they are calling it one and indivisible. That was not on our wish for that system to be eliminated, because the constitution spelled it out that the federal system was not to be replaced. That system was to be like that, because we are considered as two equal parties, two equal countries that came together. But what happened? Aijo replaced that federal system with the unitary system. That was the root cause of the problem. From then on, our people started their revendication. Okay, where you have that centralized government in education, in the justice system, in the economic opportunities. Everything is centralized. And now they are even saying they want to decentralize. Why do you first of all centralize the system? And now, after 7 years, they still want to maintain that centralized system. That is, so let's keep listening.
Everything that was destroyed by the soldiers acting with impunity.
What about we who are the victims? Some of us, we've lost members of my family. I lost about 6 members of my family, including my brothers, my cousins. Nobody talks about them. And they were not political people. These were people who were in the village.
It's almost impossible for me to describe the scale of the international failure and how dismaying it is and how obvious it is we've learned nothing.
Because there was no history of prevention. There was none. We've always gone in after somebody's blown the place up and tried to pick up the pieces and so on.
In April, just as Dallaire had feared, the slaughter began.
Where we failed was that once we recognized the damn thing as being a genocide, we still didn't send anybody in.
In her Pulitzer Prize-winning study of genocide, Samantha Power outlined how U.S. administrations throughout the 20th century had shied away from action.
U.S. leaders wanted genocide stopped. Sure, everyone wants that. But U.S. leaders didn't want to do what was required, didn't want to take the risks necessary to ensure that genocide got stopped. And those are two very different things. So never again would we like genocide to happen. It's very different than never again will we stand idly by and let genocide.
I think that if the humanitarians had felt as strongly as they appear to now that this was a political crisis requiring political action, they would actually have taken some form of bureaucratic action to act on that.
He claims he was writing memos to Jan Egeland and others throughout this period.
Sure, but again, I've got no idea what memos he was writing to Jan Egeland because I didn't receive them.
Having witnessed the last few genocides of the 20th century, and having presided over the first genocide of the 21st century, it doesn't make you feel good about yourself. So I have to be quite honest about that.
But at the UN, political realities can often stand in the way of swift and appropriate action.
Invading their neighbor, plundering it of its natural resource wealth, and suffering no sanctions at the United Nations Security Council. And you have to ask why, and it's because they had the very strong support and backing of the United States, United Kingdom, and other governments.
There's a pattern to genocide. You can see it coming. I mean, it's like a hurricane.
The UN knew, the US government knew, I believe other governments knew as well. They did not make an effort to openly investigate those who were not good enough. They allowed investigations to be blocked and they didn't push it.
For Cameroon's refugees, there's no question of returning without an independent Ambazonia. As repression continues from Yaoundé, many young refugees say they're ready to take up arms to obtain independence for their region.
Wow, that's a synopsis of the event that led to the mass murder, mass killing of our people. Yeah, but those are the untold stories, and they keep happening. Now, during the Grand National Dialogue, there were some discussions of decentralization and going back to the federal system and so on and so forth. But the way this government is, they are so archaic. The government of Cameroon is so archaic that they want to cling onto power, and they don't care about the common man down there. They don't care about that. They don't care about how many people die. They don't care about how many of their military dies. They don't care about that. What they care is their longevity in power. Okay, because what will you describe this? This lady just described something. Take a listen. It's in French. I'm going to translate to you guys in English.
En cas de décès, de démission, de vacances, le président de la République, Paul Biya, sera remplacé par le président du Sénat, Niet Difendi. Le processus de remplacement sera coordonné par le Conseil constitutionnel et le président de l'Assemblée nationale. Si après cette vidéo, tu t'obstines toujours à ne pas voter pour les présidentielles 2025, c'est toi le sorcier du Cameroun. Je dis bien sorcier du Cameroun.
So we just we just listened to that lady, right? And when you see what she described, just 1 minute of everything. If Paul Biya dies now, okay, who's going to replace Paul Biya? There are 3 branches of government that are going to replace Paul Biya: the Speaker of the House, the President of the Constitutional Council, or the President of the Senate. And 3 of them are in their 90s. You saw the image, right? They can't walk. They can't even think by themselves. They are the same like Paul Biya. It's their age mate. It's their colleague. So think about it. That is the system. But I like what these youths want to start doing. The Cameroon, the La Republique youths say that this time around, they will not take it lightly. That the whole regime, there will be an overhaul of that regime and send everybody out. Because the president that will come should not continue with the legacy of Biya, to continue the war and keep the killings on both sides. A reasonable president will come and go to negotiation, end the crisis, right? But if you keep, Ambazonians are not losing anything. They can keep this crisis for the next 10 years, no problem. But the La Republique people are losing a lot because they are the ones spending money on their military. Imagine how much money they are spending on these armor cars, on these militaries, and on. They are buying weapons from France. They are the ones spending money. Ambazonians don't spend money. Okay, they are in their country. They are comfortable living in their country. You come and occupy their country. These are this guy was talking about. He was part of that commission in the constitutional. He was saying something important. So let's listen to him.
I was actually in the commission on judicial system. And the debates there were very, very heated. And the consensus which came out of those debates were that not all laws are harmonizable in the first place, because they were in an attempt to come out with something they called the civil code, which was supposed to have completed the annihilation process of the common law.
Yeah.
And we drew the attention to see why that wasn't going to work or how that was going to create more problems. Basically, there were resolutions that we arrived at in those commissions. One was that they should create a common law section in ENAM if ENAM were still to be as an institution that treats magistrate, they should create a common law section in it now. Not something that is done on an ad hoc basis. Because the Minister of Justice who was in that commission had argued to us that the reasons why civil law trained magistrates were posted to the Northwest and Southwest was because there was a shortage of personnel. And we said, but if there has been a shortage of personnel, it means that in the admission process into ENAM, it was conducted in such a way that would produce that shortage. But under the way to, since we were now looking for a way forward, create a common law section. Not an ad hoc thing, because he tried to suggest to us that at the time, the head of state had given instructions for some common law special recruitment. And we said it should not be done on an ad hoc basis. It had to be done on a permanent basis. And that, again, they argued that the government had ordered the creation of common law, English law departments in all state universities. But then they argued that the common law was no longer necessary. So we asked the question, if you are creating departments of English law, what are you teaching them there? Now when they graduate, what are they going to apply? So you are creating one problem by trying to solve another one, because the effect will be that by the time these children leave school and the common law had been completely wiped out, there will be a crisis in that they will not be able to fit.
Yeah, no, let me come in here because he mentioned certain points that I want to highlight. Okay, Biya already made it clear that their mission for the past years was to assimilate, to eradicate anything English, but it failed. So now, what do they think? Why do they think that the Canadian system is working? Because Canada is made up of two separate countries. Quebec is not Canada. Okay, Quebec is just part of that system, but they are living harmoniously together. Okay, why? Because each province respect that first of all the culture, the language, and they respect the system. The English speaking part of Canada is English and is common law system. The French part of Canada is Quebec, and they respect that civil law system there. Nobody goes and want to change the system in Quebec because it's French, and it's 20% of Canada population is French. In Cameroon and Ambazonia is the same thing. Ambazonia is 20% the population of both sides, right? But that culture is English. You cannot go and change Anglo-Saxon culture, want to change the common law system. And what he was saying is that the minister of whether higher education or what is saying that they did not have enough English magistrate. That's why they were sending the civil law magistrate. Come on, how can you train somebody in the civil law system? You are asking them to come and work as magistrate in the common law system. Then our lawyers are there who are jobless. They don't have jobs. You don't send them to ENAM. You send all your people to ENAM, and you are sending them now to come and work in the common law system. Is that not a marginalization? Because we have competent English magistrate and lawyers that can work. You don't promote them to ENAM. You don't say, because ENAM is just like something that you have to bribe your way through. ENAM or EMIA, all these schools. But at the end of the day, is still the French system. Because in the common law system, we only have what we call the bar association. The bar association, once you are a member of the bar, you can write an exam and become a magistrate. You don't have to go through IMM, all those things. You don't have to go through that. Okay. Once you become competent, you have your once you are a member of the bar, you can be a magistrate. Okay. So that system has been so corrupt that just because they don't want to appoint our people, they will appoint their own people to come to our area. All these things, ENAM, EMIA, all these things should be eradicated, should be taken off, because all those things are bottleneck people that are working for the government. They are not working for the people. You cannot appoint SDO. Who are the SDO? What is the SDO doing? What are these appointed people doing around? Government delegate. What is the use of a government delegate in the first place? What is it government delegating? Is the government eye on that council to make sure that they impose an unelected official, not the mayor. And when the government delegate is there, the mayor has no power. It's the same thing with the governor. How can you appoint governors, for that matter? How can you appoint officers that are governing calling the divisional officer? That is the French system. We don't want the SGOs in Ambazonia. We don't need them. The English system don't have. Where have you heard there is an SGO in Nigeria or Ghana or in South Africa? Have you heard SGO there? It's the French system, and it's so corrupt so much so that SGOs will come and they are getting more powers than even the elected official who is the chief. The chiefs are elected officials of the chief house of chiefs. They will get more powers even than senators. Senators are elected officials. House of Representatives, parliamentarians are elected officials. They have more powers. Not the SGO coming to control people. Somebody will come from nowhere and come and be SGO, and we wearing that they are cap. Then they'll be appointing SGOs. All the whole of Ambazonia are appointed SGOs and DOs. They will be having more powers than the chiefs who are voted and the people who are answerable to the people. You bring a DO, you don't even know where the DO is coming from. The DO doesn't even know that area because he's appointed there they send him somewhere. The local population, power to the people is the way. You should not give power to government officials who come and be giving compte rendu, old instruction. What is the local population doing? What is haute instruction? Haute instruction means that they are taking power from they're not taking power from the local population. That is centralization that we're talking about. And they are saying they want to decentralize. But let's listen. Let's keep listening to this guy.
In the market. Because what they studied is no longer relevant. And so they argued that, we argued, and it was recommended that in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, those who practice the profession of magistrates should be people who come from what you call the Anglo-Saxon background. Not just somebody who speaks English, but those who are trained in that culture. Because you would notice that we have had the impression should not be given that Anglophones don't like Francophones. That is not the thing. That is not the thing. Because if you come to anywhere, even in East Cameroon, you find them interacting.
There's never been that problem of Viva and Sam.
No, there's never been that problem. But when you bring people to administer justice, and these people have a culture of being high-handed, it creates a problem. It creates a problem. When I was young, we used to run to the police station to report that somebody has done something wrong, and that when you saw a police officer, you felt protected, you felt secured, But today, if you see a police officer, the next thing is that you want to run. I don't know if you get the point. Yeah. So the whole thing is being diluted to such a point that we are beginning to lose our identity. And like Dr. Nick said, we are coming. It's not a matter of failed decolonization even. It is a matter of two people coming together as one nation.
In their diversity.
Yes, and that when President Biya spoke in the Paris Peace Conference, that was in English common law, we call it a confession.
Yeah.
Now he was confessing. If he was in a trial, we would say that he had given a confession, or it was an admission, to use a lesson, to say that all along there has been
assimilation,
an agenda. Yes. And that he admitted that it has failed. So what we should be looking at now, if this agenda has failed, what is the workable options that can still keep this country together? I think that, and that is what the lawyers advocated in 2016, and that is what lawyers are still saying today. A few, or some of them, let me not say few, some of them have even taken the extreme position, because we argue that there was nothing very wrong with federalism as it was in 1960.
Yeah. We just heard some other points about bringing in Anglo-Saxon magistrate to the court. But, it's all the same thing that we're talking about, right? No matter what system of governance, whatever you do, but if you don't respect that people, if you don't respect that four pillars, that people, if you don't respect their culture, if you don't respect, nobody will want to live with anybody. Because look at United Kingdom, for that matter, right? It's a United Kingdom, but Wales, Ireland, all this, they are different entities, they are different countries, but they are in a kind of union. But each United Kingdom will not go and interfere into the internal matter of Wales or the internal matter of Ireland. England will not go and do that. Okay? They respect each other, but they are in a kind of confederation system. Okay? That's why they call them the United Kingdom. They are all united, right? But it doesn't mean that England will go and say, hey, you can't have a flag, you can't have a government, you can't have this, you can't have. Then how do you want to live on some, or where you call, because that is the distinct identity of that people. It has nothing to do with whether you like it or not. You must not like it, because that's how those people were given their independence as Southern Cameroonian. The people of Southern Cameroon were recognized by the United Nations. We are not a rebel group, we are not a separatist, we are not a terrorist group. The United Nations voted for the independence of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Okay? So it's for you to respect that country as it is. It has nothing to do with whether you like it or not. Once you change it, that is the problem. Once you change their constitution, you change their institution, you change what they are and who they are, that's where the problem lies. That's where we know that there was a failed decolonization, because you cannot ask somebody to be independent by joining another person even. It doesn't make sense. That was a mistake. We were a country, we were a people, we were recognized people with equal status. You cannot ask us to join another people. Because had it been you ask Cameroon to join another country too, right? Because they also were colonized by the French, we were colonized by the British. Okay. But that is the issue. And we have to look at it from that perspective and see how we can move forward and go to negotiation table, fix those issues, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, good and fine. Everybody know that they can live their own way. We must not live together, okay? It mustn't be that we have to live together. No, we have our own identity that should be respected. Biya has tried to separate us, or Biya has tried to do what we call assimilation. It has not worked. So what do they want? There's no other question about that, okay? That is the way forward. We have to respect our each other identity, okay? Thank you for listening. Thank you, and God bless you. See you in the next episode. Don't forget to share, and subscribe to the channel, okay? Thank you.